So we're just asking, like, basically just your opinion about what it's about, and
And if it affects your life in some type of way or your family life.
Overgrazing has been a problem since the Navajo people first had um, sheep and goats. If you look at some of the data and information, overgrazing actually started 1890 when Navajo people were given two sheep, and a goat from the long walk. By the time 1933 came around, when livestock reduction came about from 15,000 to 2 million heads of sheep, by that time the Chinle Valley had already been eroded. I think there was no government to really keep track of these things. Because we were nomadic during that time, we could move from one area to another and at least mitigate some effects of erosion. But now, because we're all fenced off, and the permit system that we have is pretty harsh. One horse equals 5 sheep, one cow equals 4 sheep, and then one goat equals 1 sheep. But we can easily see on Google Earth the amount of erosion that's occurring just by looking at people's allotted fence areas.
What do you think about the Navajo livestock reduction, and do you think it needs to be reinforced?
By 1933, when livestock reduction took place, most of the Chinle Valley, which was what's called desertification, where a piece of land becomes desert. When that occurs, native species are completely taken out from the ecosystem, which then it causes rain to speed up erosion. And so there is no water absorption into the land. And when there's no water absorption, there's less water for other areas. I do believe we need to have better management of our rangelands. So if we look in my hometown, you can see from space the effects of erosion. You can see one plot of land that does not have cattle. And so you can see the darker areas of vegetation compared to this plot of land. There's a corral, another corral. There's a corral here. There's looks like a little piece of farm. And you can easily see visibly that this entire area near the home is completely almost gone to vegetation. These areas down here in the wash is most likely like greasewood, plants that cows and horses won't eat. But you can also begin to see that all the vegetation here is nearly gone. If you look on the other side of the fence, you can see vegetation that isn't there. Now, one of the biggest things that's happening here is you're starting to see tumbleweeds grow in these areas. Tumbleweeds then blow off into the fence line. Now, tumbleweed, Russian thistles, there's a long list of invasive species that have come in. You can see here again, this area is being overgrazed. Generally, what would have happened is that you would keep him in one area and then move him to another area. But this entire area you can see is overgrazed compared to the other land around it. There's nobody out there. They would go out and count how much cattle was out there, but they haven't done that. No one is really taking this serious.
within the Navajo Nation, what areas do you think are the worst, like have the worst erosion or the worst management?
It's all over. Places that are being hit hard the most are the areas with wild populations of wild horses. Horses and cows and sheep, what they'll tend to do is they'll rip up the entire grass from the ground. So that plant won't even be able to regrow itself. Horses and cows, the way their hooves are made, completely tramples the earth. Okay. Buffalo, on the other hand, their hooves are designed to aerate the soil.
What's your opinion on land reform?
I think we need it. One of the things is that we're starting to see a lot of families mismanage their land range. They don't understand range management. There's a whole lot of issues with just this. Okay, if we don't have land reform, we're not going to have those opportunities for ranchers to really expand. We're not utilizing the land to its full potential. This economic policy also opens up business opportunities for people to actually have the incentive and motivation to start ranching again.
What else do you think that we could do? Like we could hold formal sessions for the younger generations, because it seems right now that it's just lack of education that's just causing the problem.
So one thing I see is the lack of motivation, the incentive. Like my uncle is a rancher right now. So from September to October, that's the only real time when you can make money. And the rest of the year you're struggling trying to, get cattle up to weight. So if we can create those financial incentives here on the reservation and have Navajo owned beef slaughterhouses, Navajo processed slaughterhouses, we create that business incentive. People are going to be wanting to get in on that. And so we need to create these avenues to where students not only take their interests, but get paid and live well off of their interests.
Question 2. Yes, it has affected my family in regards to the financial burden that owning livestock carries, because we live in an area where there's not very much vegetation for animals to survive or feed on. So in order for our animals to survive, we have to provide the hay, and the cost of hay varies throughout the year. But it does cost a lot to pay for your animals just to feed them. Even if you feed them, depending on how many animals you have, may not be enough. So it's gotten to the point where within my generation, I really don't want to own any livestock because I don't have the finances to provide for my livestock.
Well, I think a lot of it is just, just the main thing is try to educate each other, try to educate themselves, or, attend meetings and stuff like that. There's ways that, they could communicate with each other, especially like right now, people got technologies that they can use, for these types of things that somewhat make their keeping track of books, or, a lot of that, land and stuff like that, that goes into nutrition and, whatnot. I think technology has, it is something that a lot of people have, and, so, that's something they can use to communicate, educate themselves.